Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get started. So thank you very much, as I said earlier, for joining us today. I know how busy everyone is, and hopefully the next little bit we spend together you'll find valuable and interesting. That certainly is our goal. My name's Glenn Collins, and I will be your host today. Joining me in our hosting role will be Angela Larkin from Google, who's going to talk a little bit about Google Classroom. We got Brian from GoGuardian, who's going to talk about all of the wonderful things that they can do with their product. And we've got Anna, a principal from St. Teresa School in Staten Island, who's going to briefly talk about some blended learning experiences. I think we have everybody, all the presenters online, so we're ready to go. The objective of today's session is to provide you with some thoughts on how you can improve learning outcomes utilizing Chromebooks in the Google ecosystem. So really effective utilization of devices in the classroom. So hopefully we'll give you some tips and hints as we go through this that will provide you with what you need to get more out of those devices. So let me tell you a little bit about my background, and then I'll launch the polls. My role at CDI is actually a lot of fun. I get to work with folks like Google and Microsoft, people like Intel, and a series of manufacturers in China. We design and make our own Chromebooks. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the EduGear brand. But as such, I get to spend a lot of time with customers like many of you on the line and learn about the challenges and goals that you have in terms of helping to improve learning outcomes. And it's exciting to watch what we have seen happen over the last 2 years to 18 months, because I think Anna will share some of that experience with us today. I really think that we are finally on the verge of utilizing technology to really change the way we engage students. And it's been a really exciting time, as I'm sure most of you have experienced. We've done the introductions, and we'll do the introductions in terms of the folks as we introduce them, and I'll get them to tell you a little bit about their role and responsibility in the organizations they're with when they do their presentations. But I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about the Chromebook Evolution, kind of what has changed. We're going to try to make this as interactive as possible. So the audience, unfortunately, is too large to allow people to interact with us through an audio process. So I would encourage you to submit your questions through the Q&A feature in your Zoom client. We're going to do our best to answer all those questions as we can, given the time we have today. If there's questions that we either don't know the answers to and have to go find out, or we just don't have time to get to them all, then we'll be sure to send you your answers by email in the next 24 hours. I think, as I said in the chat before we started, the session is being recorded, and all of the attendees who have signed up for today will actually get a link in the next, probably by Friday. It takes a bit of time to get the recording in a fashion that we can share it, but we'll share a link with you so that you will be able to either review this again yourself or share it with your peers. So one of the things that we're going to talk today a little bit about is through the agenda is I'm going to ask Angela from Google to talk specifically about Google Classroom. And I know there's a few new things that are coming with it, but just basically how it operates and how teachers can utilize it effectively in the classroom to engage students more effectively. And then I want to talk about a product that we sell a lot of to organizations who are deploying Chromebooks that has a very good IT features for the IT folks as well as for the teachers in the classroom. So again, designed for Chromebooks and designed for the Chrome ecosystem so that you can get more out of the devices, you know, some stronger filtering, some better security on the device. And then from in the classroom standpoint, Brian will touch on how their tools can help the teachers engage the students more effectively and get more out of the devices. And then hopefully we're going to talk to Anna about best practices in their blended learning environment. So this is a customer who we've been fortunate enough to work with for some time, and they have deployed a number of our Chromebooks in their environment. And I just really wanted her to talk about that experience, the things that she sees that have really made a difference in the classrooms, and maybe some tips and hints for those of you who are starting out of things they might have done differently or things that they did that really worked well. And then I'm going to close at the end by talking a little bit about what other things you should consider when you're deploying Chromebooks in the classroom. So outside of the device, because often people just focus on the device, I want to talk a little bit about all the other surrounding services and products you need to consider to really move to a digital classroom environment, and again, get as much as you can out of your technology investment. So the Chromebook evolution really took off, probably started 3 years ago, maybe a little more, but it has really taken off in education in North America, where it has become the dominant device, the device of choice, and really the ecosystem of choice for most of our customers today. For those who are operating in other ecosystems, we continue to have conversations with those folks about evolving or changing as well. So we'd be happy to have those conversations with anybody if you have questions as to which one suits your environment better. That said, there is about 50 million students utilizing or taking advantage of Google Apps for Education. And that's even folks that aren't using Chromebooks, though a lot of folks even in the Windows environment are using them. Excuse me, there's about 20,000 schools utilizing Chromebooks today. And there was twice as many Chromebooks sold into education in 2016, or the expectation is there will be compared to Windows mobile devices. So in the mobile environment, Chromebooks are absolutely dominating the space. So I just want to, and Gartner's talking about that, you know, the growth expects to be 9 million units in 2016, and that, you know, their incredible growth continues, and they're again expecting that to double by the year 2019. So what's really driving this? Why are people moving to Chromebooks? Well, again, I think part of it is the ecosystem and the device and the efficiency and the ability to manage it effectively. Those are the things that are driving it. But the desire to do a one-to-one or a blended learning environment and really change the way we engage students is really the driving factor behind moving technology to the classroom and trying to get to a very close to a one-to-one or some hybrid version of a one-to-one, where you may have classrooms where everybody in that classroom uses a device. And the things that are changing that, the way we're disrupting the classroom, the way we're changing the way students engage, really are about giving the student the ability to learn in their own style, because they're much more effective at doing that. You know, everybody learns differently, and if you could provide them with that individual approach, obviously the outcomes are better. And that's the desire for everyone involved in education moving into the technology space. And so the one-size-fits-all approach is, you know, basically starting to change, and we'll talk a little bit about this again, but the role of the teacher is really, you know, changing from being on stage and dictating what's being learned to more of a guide on the side, as they say, in terms of showing the student how to utilize the concept in a real environment. So it's more of a coaching role and enabling the students to really utilize what they've learned online in an effective way. So practice, it's almost backwards to the way it used to be. And all of that's only possible if we can start putting technology in the hands of students. So we've really seen a move to this change in the way we teach in the last 18 to 24 months, because we're starting to see many more devices in the hands of students who are able to use it for this type of learning. So again, this is just another way of expressing what I said moments ago about, you know, not learning necessarily everybody learning in the same fashion, and it's not top-down teacher-driven anymore. It's almost student-driven, teacher-guided. So the student drives the way they learn, and the teacher provides guidance to help them through that process. But again, this is really hard to do unless you have enough technology to do it, and you have to have all the content. So in the last 24 months, with all of the tools that Google provide and has been providing for free, and all of the devices that we see in the marketplace, we're really starting to see the impact of this kind of change. And I'm sure Anna will talk to a little bit about how the teachers have changed the way they engage the students. I'm sure you all remember before Chromebooks, you know, there was, we always had mobile devices, but it was expensive. We had lots of viruses. The kids could reconfigure the device. It was difficult to manage. So if you were either in the Windows world or the Apple world, you didn't have the same kind of capacity to manage them as you do with the Chromebooks. Part of that is because they are a much more open environment, and they do some other things and allow students to do things that maybe you can't do in a Chrome environment. However, it does open that device to all kinds of other possibilities, like viruses, like corrupt images, etc. So Chromebooks, really, we talk about kind of the four major reasons that they are as successful as they are. They're fast, they're secure, they're simple to deploy, manage, and use, and they're very affordable. So it changed the way we looked at computing, and it all came at a perfect storm. It all came along when everybody was trying to buy as many devices they could for online testing. So, and it was perfect for that environment. So as a result, it's really started to take over. And I always like to say, when you're talking about Chromebooks in terms of fast, they're really nice for the teacher in the classroom because they start up really quickly. So I'm not waiting for 2 minutes for everybody's machine to boot up. They're almost instant on. They're really fast to connect. So the students, when they go to connect, they connect really quickly because the device is designed to do that relative to other wireless devices. They're easy to navigate. They're fast to learn and easy to navigate because it's a browser-based environment. So there's not a big learning curve for teachers or students who have moved from a different ecosystem to the Google ecosystem and using the Chrome environment. They're very fast to deploy. For those of you who have utilized Chromebooks in the past or have deployed them, it's much easier to do that than it is any of the other devices, and maintain manageability of them at the same time. And then, as I said, the amount of time required to learn the device and utilize the device effectively is a lot shorter than some of the other, a move to some of the other services out there. So, and from affordability standpoint, the savings are, fairly drastic. You see a 75% cost savings in the device itself over a 3-year period. The amount of time that it requires to support it goes down substantially, and the annual support costs, both from a teacher standpoint and the time required at a teacher level and the IT folks, is almost reduced to nothing compared to other devices. So the cost of not only the cost of the device and the cost to deploy and all of the free software that comes with it helps you reduce your costs and put more technology in the hands of more kids, but the ongoing cost, so the total cost of ownership over a period of time, is reduced substantially as well because of the effectiveness and your ability to manage a lot more devices without adding a lot of resources. We just start out with the premise so that we all understand what a Chromebook is. And really, a Chromebook is a notebook running a Chrome OS, which is a Linux-based operating system that's much lighter, that's designed specifically to engage with online content. And all of the computation, all of the content, all of the files reside typically in the cloud. Now, it's changing a little bit. It really was designed in the beginning to be a internet appliance, if you will. The assumption was, and I'm sure you're all the same as me, I spend the majority of my time engaged in online content or saving my files there, and only once in a while am I doing stuff offline. And really, Google's launch of the Chromebook was because that was taking place. Now, it's better today because the online content is better, the online applications are better, the storage is free. There's all kinds of things that are driving us even farther down that path. But Google did announce last May that they will enable Chromebooks in the future to run Android applications as well. Today, there's very few that they're beta testing to do that. They were hoping to have it launched by the end of the year in terms of a broader coverage, but it looks now like it'll be spring or summer of 2017. And maybe Angela can share a little bit with us. I know that it is not a Google policy to share tons of information, but maybe we can talk her into that today. But it does then broaden the use of Chromebooks even farther, because I now can do things like where teachers were reluctant to give up a notebook because they wanted to run Office. I now have Office for Android available in the not so distant future on a Chromebook. So it does expand the use of the Chromebook. It does grow the audience that will be effectively be able to use them in a meaningful way. So again, Chromebook keeps everything in sync. You know, it's great that way. All of your files are held in the cloud. You don't have to worry about losing a hard drive, losing a device. Whatever device you log or the student logs on with, all of their applications and all of their data is there waiting for them to be able to utilize it. You know, the other thing is, for years we struggled with updating OS and updating images. Well, now you don't have to worry about that, because not only is it all online and it does that automatically, but over time a Chromebook will actually operate quicker than it did in the first year, which is kind of reverse to the other devices that we're used to seeing. And I think one of the big things we've seen in education that's really been a plus for Chromebooks is the ease of manageability of the devices. So I know from talking to folks like yourself all over the country that adding a whole bunch of new devices into your environment doesn't necessarily come with money or resources to support those. So the nice thing about Chromebooks is you don't have to add a lot of resources to manage them effectively. The tools that you buy with them, the Chrome management solution, really does allow you to manage a large number of devices in a very easy and organized fashion. And it's very intuitive to use, much easier than some of the tools from the other ecosystems. And so this is what we're talking about, is the Chrome Management Console, which is the Chrome management you buy as a license with each device. And it really is just this, a way to manage three aspects of your devices. And you can manage, you know, a classroom, a school, a district, multiple locations. We have some support people that manage multiple districts, and they can utilize this tool for those kind of things. And it really I look at it in three ways. You can manage your users, you can manage your applications and access to those, and you can manage the devices. And you can do all that from a single portal. So your credentials, you know, features, there's 200 features that you can utilize in Chrome management that allow you to set it up in very specific ways for very specific users. So you may want to turn the camera off for certain grades and on for other grades. You may want to have access to certain applications, YouTube, for example, for grades 8 and on, and less than that. You have the ability to manage all of those features from a single portal. And again, you can do that with applications, or you can do that with the device itself. So many of you are already using this. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but Google Apps, or Google Apps for Education, I think they're now calling it G Suite, is documents, spreadsheets, forms, presentations. Google Plus is a media platform, a social media platform that can be used. Google Hangout is much like Skype. It's a video conferencing product that you can use to either do phone calls, audio conferences, video conferences, audio video conferences, share screen, do collaboration. Google Sites is a great program for teachers and students to create and share web pages. In Google Classroom, obviously we're going to get Angela to talk more about that, but this is the Google Classroom is one of the things that, as we convert folks from other ecosystems to the Google ecosystem, we very much focus on, because it does allow the teacher to do some really cool and unique things that hopefully we're going to see shortly, and it helps make that transition smooth. So we get teachers really excited about what they can do with these devices in the classroom utilizing Google Classroom. And then, of course, all of the online free or pay for applications that you can get through Google Chromebook for Education web store, and soon to be released some Android applications that will also run on it. So in short, these devices are scalable, very manageable through console. They integrate great with Google ecosystem in terms of Google Apps for Education and all the other applications that are out there. They allow you to do all of the things that were much more complicated to do in terms of managing the device after deployment, or even throughout the deployment. And then you've got much better, easier to manage security as well. So those are the things that I think, in terms of what we see driving the move to Chrome, that are really kind of motivating people to get there. But at the end of the day, I think it's also very much about the desire to get people to students to engage in a different way. So I'm going to unmute Angela, and I'm going to make her the host now. And so, Angela, you are free to talk, and I will keep an eye out for questions as they come in.
Okay.
And off you go.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, great. So thanks, Glenn. I'm Angela Larkin. I'm one of the regional managers on the Google for Education team. So I work with districts. I personally mostly work with districts in Colorado, Oregon, and California, but our team works with districts all over the US and across the world. So I'm going to be focusing a little bit on Google Classroom today. And Google Classroom is, can you see my slides?
We can, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So Google Classroom is mission control for teachers and students. So it's almost like an overlay over the other applications in G Suite for Education. And I'll dive into how it works, but it makes it a lot easier for teachers to get started using the applications. When we were beginning to explore what was needed for teachers and ways to make their lives easier, we talked to a lot of teachers that are either Google innovators, Google certified teachers, Google certified trainers, to ask them how were they able to accomplish what they did in the classroom. And they said it took a long time because they were trying to figure out how can they manage their assignments, push out assignments to students, collect assignments from students, provide real-time feedback. And they were using a lot of external apps or app scripts in order to accomplish that. So that's where Classroom comes in and can actually help streamline that work for teachers and students. So it is that mission control. In Google Classroom, you can create classes as a teacher, distribute your assignments, send real-time feedback, share grades with students, and see everything in just one easy place. I'll do a live demo towards the end of this, but right now I'm just going to go through these slides. As of today, we have 20 million active users of Google Classroom worldwide. So we launched in 2014, and this has been the fastest growing G Suite for Education product that has been launched. So in about 2 years, we're at 20 million active users. And the cool thing about this is it's the first product that was built 100% for education. So we previously with G Suite for Education, we took what was a consumer and enterprise product and we changed it and we made updates and there were some new features in those products. But this product in Google Classroom was built for educators to make their lives easier. So we wanted to create a solution where teachers and students can stay connected, whether they're in class or outside of class. We wanted to help teachers and students stay organized so that they can find their assignments, know when their assignments are due, communicate and collaborate with each other, keep things really simple so teachers that don't have extensive technology experience can just get started with it. It's one of the reasons why Chromebooks have really taken off in the education space is that they're just easy to use, and we wanted to keep that simplicity when building Google Classroom. And the last piece is instant collaboration. So teachers and students can have that immediate collaborative conversation. Teachers can comment on students' assignments while they're working on them. They'll have a class stream that kind of is similar to a social media type stream, but it's all related to the specific class that they're in. So every month, we actually add more and more features to Google Classroom. And because this is a product that's been built specifically for education, we have a little feedback button that I'll show you in the demo that any teacher can submit feedback to our team. And then our product team actually reads and flags every single piece of feedback that comes through. And that's how they determine what features do teachers need, what are people requesting, and how should we prioritize the features that we're working on. So you'll see accessibility, Classroom mobile apps, there's a Classroom API, which I'll show you, a share to Classroom button, and then we always have back to school launches. Recently, as of last year, as of this past summer, we had 2 new ways to integrate with Google Classroom. One is a share to Classroom button. So we have a bunch of content partners that have built this share to classroom button into their solution. So I have on the next slide some of the partners that have built this type of shareability share button into their products to make it easier for teachers to get content from one place into Google Classroom, whether that's in an announcement to students or attaching it to as an assignment to students. And the next one is the Classroom API. We want our partners to be able to extend the functionality of Google Classroom. Let's say if you have a grade book, a digital grade book that you want to be able to tie into Classroom, that vendor can now use our Classroom API in order to build that integration. So here's just a quick animation of what the Share to Classroom button is. Once you find a piece of content you want to share, you can click Share to Classroom, pick the class that you want to share it to, and then select how you want to share it. Is it an announcement or is it an assignment? And so here's a list of our classroom integration partners. It's always growing. If you just do a quick Google search for classroom integration partners, you'll be able to find like the up-to-date list. We keep it on our classroom website, so you can always see, who can I work with that has built an integration with Google Classroom to make it easier for my teachers to get that content in and pushed out to students. Here's a tiny URL that you can reference that takes you right to our What's New in Google Classroom Help Center page. As I had mentioned before, it does get updated monthly. So there's always new features rolling out, and we keep our Help Center page updated with any of the new features that are being launched on a monthly or bi-weekly basis. All right, so when you first go to classroom.google.com, you'll see a sign-in page. As a teacher, you can log in initially with your G Suite for Education account. And then if it's your first time using Google Classroom, you'll have to select whether you're a teacher and whether you're a student. Now, if a student, let's say, wants to get funny and click on the fact that they're a teacher, your name G Suite for Education Administrator can just make a quick switch in the admin console, and they can verify who's actually a teacher and who's actually a student. So it's really, really easy to kind of police on the back end. But as a teacher, you'll want to click that you're a teacher so that you can create a class. And then this is a screenshot of what the initial classroom site looks like before you create a class. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the plus sign where you can either join a class, because a lot of schools we've seen have success with using Google Classroom as a way for professional development or as a way for principals and site leadership to be able to communicate with teachers, so teachers can also join classes, or you can create a class. So I'm just going to jump into a live demo now. And log in as a teacher. So when I'm logging in as a teacher, and I already have classes that either I'm enrolled in or that I'm teaching, it gives me an overview of all of the classes that I have. So you'll see G Suite 101, Defense Against the Darkness, AV EdTech, West Memphis at Google. This is a shared account that our whole team uses. So you'll see there's stuff in California, there's stuff in Texas, there's stuff in Tennessee, and I can easily up here see my different classes and jump from place to place. It is also integrated with my Google Calendar. So if there's new assignments that have been created, I'll be able to see those in my Google Calendar. And let me jump into an account that I know has active students, a class that I know has active students. And you'll see here there's a couple saved posts. There's a quiz that has been posted. This is the class stream where teachers can communicate with students. So under the Students tab, you'll be able to see all of the students that have been enrolled in this class or that have been invited into this class. And you'll see an area where you can invite guardians. So this was one of our top requests from teachers, is how can I better communicate and collaborate with parents? So we added parent guardian notifications where parents can be invited by the teachers to follow how their students doing. So they can either get daily or weekly updates on the assignments that their students have, on any announcements that have been made in any of the classes that their students have been enrolled in. And then the last section is about, which is kind of where you can put a syllabus or put an overview of where the class meets. You'll see a folder because everything is synced back into Google Drive. So any of the content that gets created in Classroom is also available in your Google Drive. So you don't have to worry about always managing everything in Classroom. You can just jump right into Drive and go into your folder in Google Drive. All right, so let me actually start a new class just to show you how quick and easy it is. I'm going to click Create Class, and G Suite 101. We'll add a second section, Section 2. I'll do G Suite 201. And then I'll create the class. So you'll see there hasn't been anything added to the stream yet. There haven't been any students added. And I haven't added any content. So if I want to, I can change the theme. I can upload my own photo if I wanted to just change that cover photo so that it's more relevant for my class. So we'll change it to jelly beans, because who doesn't like jelly beans? To add students, you'll have a couple options. You can either invite students into your class, or students can join via a class code. So if I want to invite students, I can pull from all of my contacts, or I can pull, if students are already enrolled in a group, I can pull from existing groups. So let me just invite a couple students here. And then when the students log in, they'll get a notification that they were invited to this class, and they have to accept that notification. If you're teaching secondary, what a lot of teachers do is they just use this class code right here and allow students to enroll themselves. So when students log in, they have the option to join a class, and they can select and enter in any class code. So if you give them this class code, they can enroll themselves in this class. And then you'll see students can post and comment. Students can only comment, meaning on the class stream, only you as a teacher would be able to initially start posts, or only the teacher can post and comment. There's another great feature where you can mute students. So if you have students who are constantly posting, you can choose to mute them from the class stream without necessarily calling them out in front of everybody else in the class, or you can email them directly from this. Let me go back to an existing class to show you how teachers and students can collaborate with an assignment in real time. So here's an assignment number one in an existing class, and you can see how many have been completed by students and how many have not been completed by students. So if I click on the ones that have been completed, I can view and choose to return any of those assignments. So here's Charlotte Jordan's work. I can go in, I can review it, and then I can choose to return it. I can give her a grade. Good work, Charlotte. And then I can return it back to the student, provide any private comments that I want, and then I'll be able to see that that particular assignment has been returned to that student. If I want to look and see who has not yet completed their assignment, I can pull that as well. If I want to change the point value of an assignment, I can do that. So if this is only worth 50 points, I can change that and update that to 50 points. So it doesn't necessarily have to be out of 100 points. We don't have letter grades built into this. If it's something that you're interested in, I would submit feedback. So I want to go back to the main page just so I could show you how to submit feedback, because again, this is the best way to get updates into Google Classroom and new features that you want into Google Classroom, and click Send Feedback. You can describe your issue, share an idea that you have of something that you're looking for, and you can choose to include a screenshot if you're saying, I really want this area to be different. then I can click on a particular area of my screenshot and send this off, and it goes directly to a queue in our product team. And again, our product team will read every piece of feedback and then flag it and tag it and see if there's any trends among the feedback from teachers that we're getting. I know that was really, really quick. I will be answering questions as we continue this. So if you have questions, you can pop them into the Q&A. And I think,
Angela, you don't have to. I can reclaim the host, so you don't have to do anything.
okay.
I'm just going to tell everybody, for some reason, someone at CDI logged on using my credentials, so I can't see the Q&A, but I can see the chat. So if you please send your questions through the chat process, then I will make sure that we answer them that way. Unfortunately, I can't, for whatever reason, cannot seem to be able to see the questions and answers. So I apologize. But there was a question that said, just so I understand correctly, I can click on I am a teacher and create my own Google Classroom, but then can also be a student for different Google Classrooms made by somebody else for PD and such.
Correct.
Using the same Google credentials, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Excellent.
teachers have the option to either create a class or enroll in a class, where students only have the ability to enroll in classes.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me jump around here. Again, folks, I apologize. We're having some issues because somebody logged in with my credentials, but we're going to jump right ahead. And actually, without any further ado, why don't I turn it over to Brian is going to be next. And Brian is the channel manager for GoGuardian. GoGuardian has been a partner of ours in providing solutions for some time now, and in particular, an enhancement to the Chrome management solution, and also a enhancement to the Google Classroom. Actually, their teacher function does something quite different than that in that it allows the teacher to do much more classroom management. I'll let Brian do that. I'm sure he'll be much better at it than I am at the moment. So Brian, take it away.
Thank you. I should have my screen shared now.
I can see it fine.
Great.
You may just want to make it the slideshow and we're good to go.
Right. So as Glenn mentioned, I'm Brian. I'm with GoGuardian. I'm the channel manager there, which means I work with the wonderful folks at CDI, and I also work with the wonderful folks at Google. And one of the things I think that's really unique about GoGuardian is that they're trying to bring the best of class product, focusing on the needs of educators today. And as Glenn mentioned, by the year 2019, 50% of classes will be primarily taught online. And what we're seeing with the trend with Chromebooks, there's a really high percentage that is going to be done with Chromebooks and the Chrome platform. So GoGuardian has partnered up with CDI and Google to solve several problems. One is for the administrator. We also took a dive into the classroom to see what the students and the teachers need. And we're continually exploring what's coming out next and innovating. And we work really closely with Google to make sure that, and with educators to make sure we're providing the best products. So I've been in the education scene now for about 15 years. I started off in education as in a school district. And my role in the school district was to go out and find the absolute latest and greatest products for all the students, the cutting edge stuff, oftentimes with zero budget. So that was a bit of a difficult task. And even 15 years ago, the student device was the holy grail. We wanted students to have that one-to-one device, but there were limitations with access to wireless, access to internet in general. We wanted them to be able to take the devices home. A lot of those things are being solved. And what got me interested in moving into the software side was the rush to adopt Chromebooks was just a natural thing. People had to have them. People are still going out and buying them. But what they're realizing is that there's a lot more to it. There's things with protecting the students with content distribution. And we're changing how teachers have taught for thousands of years. The whole paradigm shift into having the student be more in control of their learning. So moving over to GoGuardian was a no-brainer for me. And I know that this is a quick one. I'm passionate about it, so I want to use your time appropriately. I'll just do a quick run through and answer some questions for you. But GoGuardian offers 4 main products. As I mentioned, we have GoGuardian for Admin. GoGuardian for Admin, well, I'll touch on that in a second. We have Teacher, we have Fleet, which is a new product, and then we have Director. So let me run through each of these real quick. GoGuardian for Admin is going to be our content filter, it's monitoring, it's theft recovery, and again, it's just for Chromebooks. So it gives you the ability to know what students are doing online all the time, whether they're on campus or off campus, be able to address any behavioral issues, but more importantly, be able to provide safe access to the internet. We do crowdsource all of our SIPA compliant blacklist, meaning that the school district in New York finds a website that pops up that's inappropriate. If they flag it, we confirm it, and then it's blacklisted for everyone. That doesn't mean that school districts cannot control their individual whitelist themselves. They can still have complete control over everything, but having that crowdsourcing makes it a really powerful SIPA compliant blacklist. And then we use geolocations and screenshots for stolen or most likely misplaced Chromebooks, which has been a great feature. Something else that we do we were talking about being able to turn YouTube on and off with the Google Admin Console. We can also really sculpt how YouTube looks with our advanced YouTube filter. So we can get rid of all the comments at the bottom, which oftentimes have nothing to do. Sorry, that mic's coming up. The comments at the bottom we can block. We can block all of the sidebar suggestions that come up. Oftentimes they're distracting, have nothing to do. And then the standard with age restriction or channel restriction or keywords. So it really gives you a customized YouTube channel or filter that has the students look at exactly what is appropriate for them. And then when the students take them home, they're still protected. And we can run schedules so that secondary high school students have a little bit they have fewer restrictions when they go home off campus. But again, completely customizable. This is just a quick screenshot of what the admin console looks like. Really quick and easy to navigate. Gives you a quick summary of who is all online, what type of blocked attempts there are. Trending websites is important because sometimes there may be a new Justin Bieber video that's really taking off that we can blacklist or whitelist. So moving on to GoGuardian for Teacher, we realized that putting Chromebooks in the classroom really has a huge impact on teachers. And initially, teachers can be pretty apprehensive about this whole new way of teaching, but we wanted to make that a little bit easier. And as Angela was talking about with Google Classroom setup, there is zero setup to do with our product if you already have the Google Classroom set up, because we utilize those classes and we utilize the organizational units that are already in place. So when a teacher logs in, they already have all of their students and their classes set up and ready to go. And this will give teachers more of the management over the classroom. They can see what students are doing online. They can see the student screens, see screenshots, and all of this is recorded so they can go back to previous sessions and use that data to gauge student engagement or the efficiency or effectiveness of teaching methods. Being able to open and close tabs and lock the browser really does make the classroom time more efficient. One of the things I remember from my classroom days was in the computer lab when you've got 30 students and you ask them all to go to www.newyorktimes.com / and then 50 characters, half the class raises a hand because they didn't get there. And we started doing some tracking on it, and there were about 13 minutes of every class period that were wasted with having to go around to individually work with each student to get them on the right browser or the right web page. With this, the teacher can simply open a tab and send out a new resource or a URL, or close everything down to get their attention. And just like with Google, I don't know how many, let me get out of this real quick. I'm going to go over and show you real quick what it looks like. Let me move this out of the way. Get that out of there. There we go. So I'm going to go over to Teacher real quick and just show you, because I think that this is important to get a glimpse of what it actually looks like. We are running a virtual reality lab. It's called Hogwarts. I have a session running right now, so I'm just going to hop into the session, and you'll see it populate with the student devices. And just at a quick glimpse, I can see what everyone is searching on right now, but also I can see what other inactive tabs are open at the bottom. So if I go and click on Draco's screen, I can see that Draco is getting into some email, checking everything out. That's okay. But then there's also a Taylor Swift video open at the bottom. Without any disruption of class, if I click the X, it sends a command to close that tab. And oftentimes that little nudge is enough to let Draco know that we need to stay on task. As a teacher, I can still also share Draco's screen up with the entire class if there are a group project that they want to be able to talk about, have that for the front of the classroom display. And then another view is called Timeline View, and this is what we save. On the far right is current time right now. So if I'm at the front of the class and I need to know that everybody is on a particular YouTube video that was sent out, I can see that only Chang is on that video. Everyone else is off doing something else. So again, if I have Floor, I can click on Floor and see from this screen what all is open and what's being worked on. And again, have the same control of open and closing, or even taking screenshots for later if we have a parent-teacher conference coming up. It's not intended to be a punitive device or a tool. Typically what we see is once students realize that the teacher has full control of the classroom, we see a lot of the disruption going away, and then it truly becomes more of a teaching tool where the teacher is pushing stuff out to the students. So let me run back over to you. So one of our newer products that we just came out with is called GoGuardian Fleet. And this ties in with the Google Admin Console. It's a bolt-on product for it. And what this allows is for bulk editing of the organizational units. And a good example of that is if you have a graduating senior class leaving with 500 Chromebooks, they can all be dumped right back into the system, into third grade or wherever it wants. And then also we do repair tracking. So if you have to check out a device while one is being repaired, it does all the checking out and then logs all of the repairs to that unit as well. Along with Fleet, our next to us, or our latest product out is GoGuardian Director. This is currently a product that is no charge. We're putting this out there for tech directors or CTOs to find out what applications are being most used on their network. So it gives that really high-level district-wide analytic for being able to see the top applications. So if there's Khan Academy or Edmodo, any of the applications that are being used, we can see how often they're being used and for how long. And what this does is helps identify where there might be professional development needs. And again, that is no additional charge. And what's great is that all of these products are pushed out through the Google Admin Console using a Chrome extension, which means that there are no additional appliances required for the network. And pushing out that one extension automatically brings all of the devices into control. So we currently have, in just under 2 years, of those 20 million Google for Education users, we have 3.5 million active students on GoGuardian right now, with millions more trialing the product. So it's been hugely successful, and I'm sure you've already heard about us out in the field, but wanted to keep it short and sweet. I'm here for questions throughout the rest of the presentation if there are any. And definitely get with your CDI rep for more information. And we also have free trials ready to go.
Thanks, Brian. That was great. And again, we'll talk a little bit about how to engage your rep to get a free version of that. If you could stop sharing, Brian, I think that's going to have to happen so I can get back in. And Anna, you were there. Let me just share my screen quickly, and then I will unmute you. And we can get you to talk a little bit about your experience in terms of blended learning and how the devices have been effective in your environment. Can you give us some information there, Anna?
Sure. My name is Anna Simeone. Can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you great. Thank you very much.
Great.
Jump.
My name is Anna Simeone. I'm the principal of St. Teresa School in Staten Island. And the reason why we took the instructional initiative of blended learning in our school is because we have all different types of learners. Blended learning allows us to shift from a one-size-fits-all to more individualized learning. Instead of using just textbooks and workbooks, we use the Chromebooks, which engages our learners. It promotes better teacher and student communication, and the teachers get a clearer picture of student progress, mastery, and areas where they need more help. It makes learning fun, and the students are active, and they really enjoy that. Here at St. Teresa, we use the 3-station rotation model where there's a tech center, a teacher-led center, and an independent student center. And the children like that because they get up to move during lessons. The computer programs that we have adapt to meet the needs of every individual student in the classes. We're a pre-K3 to 8 school. And it also allows the students to practice skills they struggle with or move ahead as they master content. Blended learning impacts the amount of time the child spends with the teacher. Students spend more time with their teachers in one-on-one or small group settings, which allows the teacher to individualize the student learning more. In grades 6 to 8, they have a one-to-one Chromebook. And in grades K through 5, they have 15 devices in each classroom for the station rotation model. Why we chose Chromebooks, because we did have a program where we used iPads, but we completely switched to Chromebooks this year because they work with the G Suite accounts or with Gmail accounts. They allow access to the web and the cloud with unlimited storage. They're very intuitive and easy to learn and use. It's very simple for students, parents, teachers to learn how to use. And there's great tech support, and they're very affordable compared to other devices. So that's why we chose blended learning at St. Teresa School. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about the experience we had here.
Okay, thanks, Anna. That was wonderful. I appreciate you participating. We again, I'm struggling a little bit with the questions and answers. So if you submit your questions, and I know I could see from the chat that Angela's been busy answering some questions, and we can see it that way. But we'll be sure to respond to everyone using email at the end of this to answer any questions that you may have. So I just want to spend a minute or so to go through some additional information. We do have, as I talked about earlier, our own branded Chromebooks, which we'd be happy to share with you. We have demos available for people to try. We've sold about 70,000 of these in the last about 14 months. We have a touch version, a less expensive version. They're all ruggedized, and they're all designed specifically for the classroom. So they have things like removable, exchangeable batteries that can be done, exchanged in the field. If you go to our website at edgegear.com, you'll be able to see those that information. I'm just going to share with you a minute because we're about 3 minutes away from being finished, and I promised that we would try to keep this within an hour. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you need to think about other than the device. So we've heard actually a lot from Google that is provided. We heard from Anna the things they're doing in the classroom, and we heard from Brian about some of the software solutions that help you get more out of that device. I just want to talk a little bit about CDI and some of the things we've done for customers, including Anna's organization, that allow them to deploy the Chromebooks seamlessly, easily, hopefully effortlessly, and then at the same time get the use out of them almost effectively in the classroom. So from a planning perspective, there's a bunch of things we could do. Look at your infrastructure, help you with RFPs, do a detailed needs analysis. Essentially, we can help you prepare to buy and deploy a series of devices in the classroom. We also do things like we talk about enabling them. So a lot of organizations are converting from either Apple or an Active Directory environment to a Google environment. So we have some services that are specifically designed for that. We actually have something we call Chrome Kickstart, which walks you through all of the things you need to think about as you set up your Chrome management. We actually walk you through that process of the 200 boxes to check and make sure that we work with you to set it up appropriately for your organization. And then we provide training either on-site or online for things like Google Classroom, GoGuardian Teacher, GoGuardian Admin. And for those who want some help on some of the GAF products or G Suite products that they may not have used in the past or are unfamiliar with or would like to get more out of. So, you know, we talk about enabling our customers to utilize these. This is really key, I think, for those of you who are going from a Windows environment to a Chrome environment, only because it really does put your teachers in a position of comfort. So we walk them from, this is what you used to do, here's what you do today, and this is why we think it's easier for you to do this. Here are the features and benefits that are going to help you be more effective in the classroom. So by helping enable them, we make that conversion to Chrome much easier, and the utilization of that device, the investment you've made, much quicker. You get your return on investment. The other things that often get lost are all of the other accessories. So I know in New York and Staten Island, we're selling a lot of carts and cabinets for the classrooms and headsets. And typically, if you're looking at one-to-one, you need to buy extra AC adapters because they get lost. If the device is going home, you really need to think about protective backpacks or sleeves to go in backpacks, because without selling those, we've seen a 33% increase in breakage when the device leaves the classroom. GoGuardian software we talked about, but extra things like mice, headsets that you utilize for online testing, etc. And then we provide white glove services. So typically, we do this cheaper than you could do it yourself. So we enroll the device, we update the OS, we make sure everything's work, we validate the device policy on that device, and then we ship the device. So basically, it's plug and play. You put it in the classroom, you plug it in, it connects to your wireless, it's already joined to your domain, and it's ready to go. So we really can reduce the time it takes to deploy the product in the classroom. Some of the other things we do for organizations is we help them remove effectively their old product, whether it's, you know, do it in a green environment because there's no value in it, or whether we provide value to customers because often that product that they're turning in has some value to some of our other customers. And because at the core, we're a refurbishing organization as well, we can take that, refurbish it, and sell it to others and give you credit for it. There's value in some of that stuff. And one of the most popular things we do is when people are looking for cards is we wire the cards for them, we put the devices in them, and then we ship them out ready to go and roll right off the truck. So for those of you who have been through the challenge, if you will, of configuring a cart, you know how long it takes to run all the wires and get them all organized. So we have people that are really good at it, do it really effectively in our warehouse, and then ship it out to you. Customization, we have a UV printing that allows us to create really colorful and exciting logos we can put on the devices. We have asset tagging, the ability to asset tag and provide you the information that you need to bring into your asset management stuff. What we find when we put the logos on them, that actually reduces vandalism and breakage because there's a bit more pride of ownership, and certainly it reduces theft because the device is very identifiable as a device that belongs to your organization. One of the key things that we talk to everybody about is making sure that we provide them with a warranty solution that suits their unique environments. So depending on your utilization of the devices, we can craft a warranty program that's the most cost-effective, that delivers the kind of insurance you're looking for. And the reason I say that is because as we move to a one-to-one environment, as you start to have to depend on the technology for students to learn, it's critical that you have them up and running as often as possible. So we do a lot of work where their large customers are doing self-maintaining programs, or we have hot swaps available to them. So there's a variety of programs. Again, I encourage you to talk to your CDI rep about your unique environment and how we can put together a very unique package for your device or for your environment. And from a support standpoint, we do actually have package support time, X number of hours you can buy that we would provide you with support. We provide break fix services. We do repairs in our 120,000 square foot facility head office. So we actually do not board level, but everything but board level repairs on devices on all of the brands that we sell. And you can contact with our customer service organization in 3 different ways. We have a 1-800 toll-free number. You can do it by email, or we have a customer portal that you can activate, work through, and it has all kinds of neat features that allow you to report damage or request an RMA, look at the number of the time left on a warranty in any given program. And then on our website, we have a lot of frequently asked questions about the Chrome and the utilization of the devices in the classroom. The one unique thing about our customer support is we actually survey every year our customer base to see how we do in terms of supporting our customers after the fact. We actually have a higher than 97% satisfaction rate, which actually puts us, as a premier organization ahead of people like Apple in terms of customer satisfaction. I very much appreciate your time. I'm hoping you got some good value out of today. We covered a lot of territory in a very short period of time, and I'm hoping you felt it was worthwhile. So Anna, thank you very much. Angela, thank you very much. Brian, thank you very much for your participation. For all the folks who joined us, again, thanks for your time. If you have questions and you want to contact me directly, you can reach me at gcollins, that's GCOLLINS, at cdicomputers.com. Thanks for your time, and have a wonderful day.